Dagda agus tá Fultrovus Mish on Skelly Biog. Hello, and you are very welcome. I'm the little storyteller, and it is mid-month, which means we are Patreon Insider time again, and it is the audio story. So this one is a little bit fraught with emotion, and I got to be honest, it was a very tough one when I wrote it 2 years ago, and a tough one again when I recorded it for the audio. It's called Voice of the People, and it's personal, but it's also national and international, and it's a big deal. So for me, the interaction with deity is a daily thing. So I don't have a very formulaic or ritual practice. It is the making of a cup of coffee for my god, the Dagda. It's saying his name every day. It's kind of reminding myself that I wear a tattoo honoring like his greatest tools and the stories that are connecting me to my Irish heritage and to this good God of the Tuatha Dé Danann. But I don't think personally that deity is a static thing. It is a fluid and growing and changing thing because we as humans are fluid and growing and changing. Now, there are some fundamental core elements to every god, to every deity that will never change. The Dagda is always going to be the good god. The Morrigan is always going to be a goddess of battle, poetry, and prophecy. Just because our ability to perceive and to interact with these deities changes over time, doesn't mean that the deity fundamentally changes in any way as well. And have a look over at Laura O'Brien's The Morrigan is not a sex goddess, or even just anywhere in her social media profiles, you'll find that it can be a very heated discussion, mainly because it's bad. But anyway, to get back on topic for this, the story is called Voice of Our People, and it was written in May 2018, so that's 2 years ago now from the date of this recording for the audio. And the reason why the 25th of May in that 2018 is a big deal and is the scene and setting for the story is it because it was the voting day for a referendum. Now, a referendum is a change or an alteration to a constitution. So what we were looking for in this referendum at the time was a repeal of a previous amendment to the constitution. The Eighth Amendment to the Irish Constitution. What had happened 35 years previously was a referendum was held, information was in some way skewed, shall we say, by cultural opinion and the influences of the Catholic Church in Ireland, and it led to abortion being criminalised. And so anyone even talking about abortion could see a 14-year jail term. And that persisted for many years. There was an amendment, a slight alteration to that amendment, which allowed for people to talk about it, which meant that medical professionals could give some form of advice to people who are in difficult circumstances. But fundamentally, it was this right to life of a fetus. If there was any heartbeat at all, then no medication, no medical procedures, nothing could be done as long as there was a heartbeat, essentially. Now, of course, this leads to so many difficulties and so many deaths and unwarranted deaths, but also so many people who had to travel, had to, leave the country in order to get medical treatment. Essentially, it criminalized aspects of having a womb, and it was tough. It was very fucking tough. Where in the most horrific circumstances and content warning for non-consensual sexual interaction, if anyone needs to pause the video and step away, that's okay, because we don't want to upset anyone's never my intent to do so. But I'm gonna be very firm about saying that, a person who was raped and conceived a child could receive a 14-year jail term for aborting that unwanted child, but a rapist wouldn't. The jail term for a rapist could be like 4 or 5 years good behavior. And so it was bad. It was so very, very bad in so many ways. But again, our culture changed and the influences and maturity and cultural alterations as Ireland kind of moved more and more away from a strict adherence to like Catholic doctrine in many ways. Like I remember like um, contraception. There was a whole fucking hullabaloo over contraception, in order to prevent the passing of sexually transmitted diseases, but it would prevent people getting pregnant, and so therefore contraception was bad, and you know you'd have to go out of the country in order to buy a packet of condoms. So thankfully it wasn't too bad as I grew up, but for the people who existed in that 35 years up until the 25th of May 2018, anyone who had a womb added on whole layers of fear and trauma and concern because of this eighth amendment to our constitution. So there was a lot of campaigning. It was campaigning for years. Almost as soon as it was ratified into the constitution, people were trying to get it out. And on the 25th of May 2018, that was done. The Eighth Amendment was repealed. And like Ireland came together in so many ways. Like the Together for Yes campaign was amazing. It was fantastic. And it crossed every demographic, across every age group. It wasn't just the young people, it was the old people. It wasn't just the city people, it was the rural people. Now, in some places it was close. There was a lot of pressure, and foreign influence, would you believe? There were whole Christian fundamentalists, pilgrimage tour groups coming over from America in order to save Ireland from liberals. And I stood up against a couple of those things passively, but firmly. I stood my ground and was like, okay, well, this is a protest. We believed our right, and we have our right to speak about amendments and changes to our constitution. It's our political and democratic right. But the exterior influence was big. So it was a lot of work. And it led to a lot of emotional relief and release for a lot of people. But it also led to a lot of kind of emotional breakdowns. People who've been working for years to try and get this thing across the line, suddenly it becomes real. Suddenly it has happened. And it's glorious and it's a fulfillment and it's amazing, but another content warning for death by suicide. So please feel free to stop the video, step away if you need to. I lost a friend. Very vocal campaigner, very adamant person, and a very lovable person. His name was John Hanna. And in all of the communities, he was hilarious, so intelligent, so articulate, so passionate. And he fought so hard, struggling against his own mental health, struggling against his own demons, and also, despite the struggles, putting in the effort to turn up for his community, for his people, for his nation. And we had a victory. We had a victory because of people like John Hanna. But it cost. And he's no longer with us in the living. You can see why this is tough. I had a tough time emotionally. Still do. But you got to feel your feelings. Them Dagda words. So, for me, the integration of deity and spirituality is a daily thing. It's a lived life. It's a life lived in partnership. It's a life lived in shared interactions and shared experiences and shared trials. So the story that is available on my website, dagdabard.com, is the voice of our people. For the Patreon people at the the Patreon people are supporting for the audio, have gotten the audio recording there today. And as ever with all of these things, I would like to say I'm grateful. I'm very grateful. I really am. I'm grateful for my community that supports this work. I'm grateful for the support of my God, my deity, who has my back and helps me through stuff when I'm not able to face it, not able to process it. I'm grateful for my greater community of my island, my nation, my people, my tribe, my tua, who decided and spoke very firmly that the right to access medical treatment within Ireland should be unrestricted. It should be supported. We're still not over it. There's still hiccups and we're still along the way, but at least the referendum was passed and the legal ramifications are out of the way. So implementation is moving, and as the culture kind of grows and changes and carries on maturing, hopefully we'll get to a much better place for everybody. So as ever, Gaurav Mahagas, thank you very much. August Slán. Goodbye.